Steam from the kettle fogged the kitchen window as Mom's voice cut through the clatter of dishes like a knife. "If you walk out that door for that internship, you are dead to me." My heart pounded so hard I thought it might burst through my chest. My half-packed suitcase lay open on the floor, clothes spilling out like my crumbling life. My younger brother Leo stood frozen in the doorway, his eyes wide with fear and uncertainty. The smell of burnt toast filled the air. Mom had forgotten it on the stove in her rage. The family's old clock ticked louder than usual, each second marking the end of something I couldn't quite name. "You're choosing strangers over family," Mom screamed, her face red and twisted. She grabbed my scholarship letter from the counter and shoved it onto the floor. Paper scattered across the linoleum like broken dreams. I swallowed hard, trying to find my voice. "I'm choosing my life, Mom. I'm choosing to be a journalist, to tell important stories." The slap came before I could finish. Her palm connected with my cheek, the sound echoing in the suddenly silent kitchen. My name is Ava Wren, and that was the day my mother disowned me for wanting to tell the truth. I rode the night train to the city with nothing but my camera, my laptop, and $50 in my pocket. The darkness outside the window matched the hollow feeling in my chest. My cheek still stung from Mom's slap. My phone buzzed. A text from Mom lit up the screen. "Don't come back. You made your choice." My finger hovered over the delete button. Part of me wanted to save it, to prove later that this had really happened. But I pressed delete anyway, watching the words disappear. My hand shook as I set the phone down. An old man sitting across from me gave me a sympathetic look, as if he somehow knew I was running from something bigger than just home. Maybe he'd done the same thing once. Maybe everyone on this train was running from something. I stared out the window at the passing darkness, barely seeing my own reflection. I repeated the words like a prayer, like a promise I wasn't sure I could keep. "It's not forever. I'll make her proud, somehow." But even as I said it, I wondered if that was true. If she'd ever be proud of me again. I crashed on my classmate Brianna's couch that first week. The city felt like another planet, people moved fast, nobody met your eyes, everyone seemed to know exactly where they were going except me. My first day at the news internship was complete chaos. I spilled coffee on my only clean shirt. The train made me 20 minutes late. I forgot to pack lunch and was too embarrassed to ask where to buy food. When my boss, a gruff middle-aged man named Harrison, called me kid in front of the whole newsroom, I wanted to disappear. That night, lying on Brianna's lumpy couch, I made the mistake of scrolling through my family's Facebook. Mom had posted something about family loyalty and how real children honor their parents. The comments from her church friends stung like salt in a wound. "Ungrateful children always fall eventually," someone wrote. "Praying she comes to her senses," another added. I closed the app, my vision blurring with tears. Brianna's cat jumped onto my chest, purring softly. At least someone in this city was happy to see me. Tomorrow would be better, I told myself. It had to be. 3 weeks later, my birthday arrived. I woke up on Brianna's couch. She'd left early for work, and checked my phone with desperate hope. Nothing. Not a single message from home. Leo had sent me a sad face emoji at midnight, but that was it. No call from Mom. No text from Dad, who'd stayed silent through the whole fight. No birthday wishes from the cousins I'd grown up with. I was 22 years old and completely alone. I bought a convenience store cupcake on my way home from the internship that evening. It had bright pink frosting that tasted artificial and sad. I ate it sitting on Brianna's fire escape, forcing a smile as I held up my phone to take a selfie. I stared at the photo for a long time but never posted it. What was the caption supposed to be? "Happy birthday to me, disowned and broke?" Just as I was about to cry, my phone rang. Harrison's number. "Kid, I saw that footage you shot on the street yesterday, the protest outside City Hall. It's raw. Unpolished. But it's real. Keep filming." For the first time since leaving home, I felt like someone actually saw me. A few weeks later, a text from Leo made my blood run cold. Mom's telling everyone you ran off with a man. That you got pregnant and left town to hide it. The church ladies are eating it up. My stomach dropped. I sat on the subway, staring at those words, as people pressed in around me. The train lurched forward, and I grabbed a pole to steady myself. I opened Facebook again, a mistake I kept making, and saw the damage. Mom's friends were commenting on her posts with messages of sympathy and judgment. Praying for your wayward daughter. These modern girls have no values. She'll come crawling back when that man leaves her. I recorded a tearful voice memo in the subway bathroom, my voice echoing off the tiles. I explained everything, the internship, the scholarship, the truth about why I'd left. But when I played it back, I sounded desperate and defensive. I deleted it without sending. Instead, I channeled all that pain into my work. I started interviewing other young women who'd left home for their careers, for their freedom, for their survival. Their stories became mine. My story became theirs. Harrison noticed. You found your angle, kid. Keep going. 2 months into the internship, everything fell apart. Harrison was replaced by a new producer named Claudia who thought interns were expendable labor. She barely learned my name before calling me into her office. We're downsizing. Budget cuts. You understand. I didn't understand. I had no savings. Brianna had been patient, but I couldn't crash on her couch forever. The news station was supposed to be my big break, my chance to prove Mom wrong. With nowhere to go, I started sleeping in a 24-hour cafe near the station, ordering the cheapest coffee and making it last for hours while I worked on my laptop. The staff gave me pitying looks but never kicked me out. One morning, scrolling through news on my phone, I saw a headline about my hometown, mayor arrested on embezzlement charges. Mayor Phillips. The same mayor who'd given a speech at my high school graduation. The same mayor who'd cut the ribbon at Mom's bakery renovation 3 years ago with those giant ceremonial scissors. Something clicked in my brain, a journalist's instinct I didn't know I had. I started taking notes, making connections, following threads that nobody else seemed to see. This was my story. I could feel it. I began investigating obsessively. I called everyone I could think of from back home. Most calls went unanswered, word had spread about my disgrace, and nobody wanted to be associated with me. But one person finally agreed to talk, Mr. Kwan, an old supplier who used to deliver flour and sugar to Mom's bakery. We met at a dingy coffee shop in Chinatown. He looked over his shoulder before speaking, his voice barely above a whisper. Your Mom's bakery got special permits. Fast-tracked zoning changes. Everyone in the business knew it wasn't clean. My pulse raced. I pulled out my phone and hit record, my hands shaking slightly. What do you mean, not clean? The mayor's office pushed everything through. No delays, no questions. That doesn't happen unless someone's paying for it. He leaned closer. Your mom's not a bad person, Ava. But she made deals with bad people. After he left, I sat in that coffee shop for 3 more hours, transcribing every word, checking facts, building a timeline. For the first time since leaving home, my pain had a purpose. I wasn't just a disowned daughter anymore. I was a journalist with a story to break. 3 days after my meeting with Mr. Kwan, my phone buzzed with a text from Mom. The first communication in months. You should stay out of adult matters. My breath caught. It wasn't a greeting or an apology. It was a warning. Someone had told her I was investigating. Someone in town was watching me, reporting back. The realization sent chills down my spine. I stared at the message for a long time. Part of me wanted to respond, to ask her to just tell me the truth. But I knew that wasn't how this worked. She wasn't reaching out as my mother. She was reaching out as someone with something to hide. I took a screenshot of the message, evidence, then deleted the original. My hands trembled as I opened my laptop and added the text to my growing file of documentation. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay on Brianna's couch, staring at the ceiling, wondering if I was making a terrible mistake. What if I was wrong? What if I destroyed my family over nothing? But Mr. Kwan's words echoed in my mind, she made deals with bad people. I had to know the truth. Even if it destroyed us both. A week later, a brown envelope arrived at the cafe where I'd been working. The barista handed it to me with a curious expression. Someone dropped this off for you. Didn't leave a name. My name was scrawled across the front in letters that looked deliberately disguised, all capitals, angular, impersonal. Inside was a single photograph. My family's house. The bakery. And written across the image in red marker, drop it, or you'll regret it. My co-worker from the news station, a photographer named Marcus, was sitting across from me. He saw my face go pale. You need to take this to the police, Ava. I shook my head, stuffing the photo back into the envelope. They've been scaring me my whole life. I'm not letting them win now. But my hands shook as I ordered another coffee. Someone was watching me. Someone knew where I worked, where I spent my time. The threat wasn't abstract anymore, it was real and close and dangerous. That night, I doubled down on the investigation. Fear could either stop me or fuel me. I chose fuel. I started making calls to the mayor's office, to city council members, to anyone who might talk. Most hung up. But a few started to crack. The story was coming together. 2 weeks later, my phone rang at midnight. Leo's number. My heart jumped, he never called this late. Ava? His voice was shaky, younger sounding than usual. He was crying. Leo? What's wrong? Mom's panicking. She's been on the phone all night with lawyers. She said, he took a shuddering breath. She said she did what she had to do. That they promised her the bakery would survive if she helped them. I sat up, my heart pounding. Helped who? What are you talking about? The mayor's people. The zoning board. I don't know all of it, but, Ava, I think Mom's in real trouble. Leo, you need to tell me everything you know. I found a notebook. In her office at the bakery. Old, leather-bound. Full of handwritten notes. Cash amounts. Dates. Initials. My journalist instincts kicked into overdrive. Can you take photos? Send them to me? There was a long pause. If I do this, she'll know it was me. I know, I said softly. I'm sorry. But Leo, if she's involved in something illegal, it's going to come out anyway. At least this way, we control how. The line went dead. For several agonizing minutes, I thought he'd hung up. Then my phone buzzed with incoming photos. 12 images. Each one a page from that leather notebook. And there, on the third page, one line that changed everything, Mayor P, $50K for zoning permit. I spent all night analyzing Leo's photos. The notebook was a ledger of bribes, cash payments from Mom's bakery to various city officials. Mayor Phillips' name appeared 7 times. Each entry corresponded with a date when Mom's business had received some kind of approval or permit. The timeline was damning. 3 years ago, when Mom wanted to expand the bakery, she'd been denied by the zoning board. 2 weeks later, $50,000 went to Mayor P. The very next week, her expansion was approved. The evidence was clear, my mother's business wasn't successful because of her talent or hard work. It was built on corruption. I felt sick. Not just because of what she'd done, but because I understood why she'd done it. The bakery was her life's dream. Our family's only source of real income. She'd been desperate to make it succeed. But that didn't make it right. I sat in that cafe as dawn broke over the city, staring at my laptop screen. I had everything I needed for the story. Every fact checked, every source verified, every document photographed and saved. All I had to do was write it. But first, I sent Mom one message. One last chance. Please tell me the truth before I publish this. Let me hear your side. The reply came within minutes, almost like she'd been waiting for my message. If you destroy our family name, I'll destroy you. I stared at those words. The same knife-twist cruelty as the day she'd kicked me out. No explanation. No remorse. Just threats and anger. Something inside me broke. Or maybe it finally healed. I opened a new document and started writing. The words poured out like water from a broken dam. 3 years of silence, of hiding, of being told I was wrong for wanting more than what that small town offered. I wrote about Mayor Phillips and his network of corruption. About the bribes and kickbacks that had kept him in power for 12 years. About the small business owners like my mother who'd been forced to play his game or watch their dreams die. I wrote about the cost of silence. About choosing comfort over truth. I wrote until the sun came up and the cafe started filling with morning customers. Marcus found me there at 8 a.m., still typing, tears streaming down my face. "Is it done?" he asked. I nodded, hitting save. "It's done." "Then let's get it published." I broke down crying right there in that cafe, but they weren't tears of sadness anymore. They were tears of release. Whatever came next, at least I'd told the truth. The story went live at dawn the next day. I'd found a small online news outlet desperate for content who agreed to publish it immediately. The headline was simple: Small-town corruption, how one mayor's greed destroyed honest businesses. Within hours, it exploded across social media. News aggregators picked it up. Local TV stations started calling. By noon, my name was trending on Twitter. My phone wouldn't stop ringing, journalists wanting interviews, lawyers wanting information, strangers wanting to share their own stories of corruption in small towns across America. I silenced my phone and sat in Brianna's apartment, watching the numbers climb. 10,000 shares. 20,000. 50,000. But there was only one call I was waiting for. One message I needed to see. Silence from home. Marcus texted me, "Turn on Channel 7. I switched on the TV just in time to see Mayor Phillips being led from his office in handcuffs. Reporters swarmed him, shouting questions. His lawyer pushed them back, yelling no comment. The news anchor's voice was grave, following explosive allegations published this morning by journalist Ava Wren. Federal investigators have moved quickly to arrest Mayor Phillips on charges of bribery, embezzlement, and racketeering. I sat on the couch, numb, as my own name echoed from the television. This was real. I'd actually done it. The fallout was swift and brutal. Mayor Phillips resigned within 24 hours. Federal investigators descended on our small town like locusts, subpoenaing records, interviewing witnesses, building their case. My hometown became the center of a national scandal. News vans lined Main Street. Reporters did live shots in front of the courthouse where I'd attended my 8th grade mock trial. And Mom's Bakery, the business she'd compromised everything to protect, shuttered overnight. Not by choice. Protesters gathered outside, holding signs that read "Built on Corruption and Justice for Small Towns." Someone threw a brick through the front window. The bank, nervous about the publicity, called in her loans. I watched it all unfold from my laptop in the city, 300 miles away. Social media was merciless. Someone leaked that the bakery's records matched my evidence exactly. Mom's name was everywhere, linked to the scandal, her reputation destroyed. Brianna found me sitting in the dark, my laptop screen the only light. "Are you okay?" I didn't know how to answer that. I'd exposed corruption. I'd told the truth. I'd done my job as a journalist. But I'd also destroyed my mother's life. "I don't know," I finally whispered. "I really don't know." That evening, there was a knock on Brianna's apartment door. She was out at work, and I was alone. I opened it without checking the peephole, a mistake I'd never make again. My mother stood in the hallway. She looked nothing like the woman who'd kicked me out 6 months ago. Her hair was unwashed, pulled back in a messy ponytail. No makeup. yoga pants and an old sweatshirt I recognized from my childhood. She clutched a small rolling suitcase, and her eyes were red and swollen from crying. "You destroyed me," she whispered. I stood in the doorway, blocking her entrance. My voice came out cold, harder than I'd ever spoken to her. "No, Mom. You destroyed yourself. I lost everything because of you. The bakery is gone. The house is in foreclosure. Your father won't even speak to me. Everyone in town looks at me like I'm a criminal." "You are a criminal," I said quietly. "You paid bribes. You participated in corruption. You knew it was wrong, and you did it anyway." Her face crumpled. "I did it for us. For the family. To keep food on the table and give you and Leo opportunities." "You did it for yourself," I replied. "And you made me choose between your secrets and my integrity. So I chose integrity." I closed the door before she could respond. I heard her sobbing in the hallway, but I didn't open it again. That night, I cried myself to sleep. But they weren't tears of regret. Mom didn't disappear quietly. 3 days after showing up at my door, she appeared on local news with her own story. She'd hired a cheap PR consultant who'd clearly told her to play the victim. "My daughter lied for fame," Mom said, her voice trembling perfectly for the cameras. "She took real problems in our town and twisted them to make herself look like a hero. She destroyed innocent people, destroyed her own family, for attention." The interview spread online. The comments section turned vicious, split between people defending me and people calling me a traitor, a liar, an ungrateful daughter who'd stabbed her own mother in the back. Marcus called immediately. "Don't respond. Don't give statements. Let the facts speak for themselves." My old boss Harrison, who'd been following the story, sent a text, "The truth doesn't need you to defend it. Silence is strength right now." So I stayed silent. I didn't tweet. I didn't give interviews. I didn't engage with the trolls who found my email and sent me death threats. The silence was excruciating. Every instinct screamed at me to defend myself, to explain, to make people understand. But I'd learned something in journalism school: sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is let the truth exist without commentary. The facts were clear. The documents were real. The evidence was solid. My silence became its own kind of power. The turning point came from an unexpected source, Leo. My little brother, who'd always been so scared of conflict, who'd stayed quiet during that awful fight in the kitchen, finally found his voice. He recorded a video and posted it on Facebook. In it, he sat in his college dorm room, looking tired and sad and brave. "I need to tell the truth," he said to the camera. "My mom is saying my sister lied. But I was there. I saw the notebook. I took the photos. And I'm the one who recorded this." He played an audio file, Mom's voice, crystal clear, talking on the phone with someone. "I know it was wrong. But Philip said if I didn't pay, he'd make sure every inspection failed." What was I supposed to do? Let my business die? The video went viral within hours. The comments section exploded, this time overwhelmingly in my favor. People who'd called me a liar were now apologizing. News outlets were retracting their both sides coverage and focusing on the facts. Mom's reputation, already damaged, completely collapsed. Leo called me that night, his voice shaking. Did I do the right thing? Yes, I told him, tears streaming down my face. You did exactly the right thing. Thank you for being brave. She's not talking to me anymore, he said quietly. I'm dead to her now too. Then we'll be dead together, I replied. And we'll be okay. 2 weeks after Leo's video, I received a call from a major network, the kind of call that changes careers. They wanted to produce a documentary about corruption in small-town America, using my story as the centerpiece. The producer, a woman named Helena with an impressive track record, flew to meet me in person. We sat in a coffee shop, a nicer one than the cafe where I'd been sleeping, and she laid out the vision. This isn't just about your town, she said. This is about how corruption works everywhere. How ordinary people get caught up in it. How hard it is to speak truth to power when power is your own family. I hesitated. I don't want to exploit my own pain. Or use my mother's downfall for profit. Helena nodded. I understand that. But think about all those young women you interviewed, the ones who left home for their freedom. Don't they deserve to have their stories told? To know they're not alone? I remembered those interviews. Girls who'd been called selfish for wanting education. Women who'd been disowned for choosing careers. People who'd sacrificed family approval to pursue their truth. No one ever believed me, one woman had told me, tears in her eyes. Not until I read your story and realized I wasn't crazy. That it wasn't my fault. I looked at Helena. Okay. Yes. Let's do it. She smiled. Good. Because the world needs to hear this. Filming the documentary took 6 months. The crew followed me back to my hometown, the place I'd fled, the place I'd exposed, the place that would never welcome me again. The bakery was still boarded up, windows broken, Mom's dream reduced to a ghost. We filmed there at sunset, golden light streaming through the cracks. The building looked like a beautiful corpse. I walked through town with cameras following me. People stared. Some crossed the street to avoid me. Others nodded in silent respect, victims of the mayor's corruption who were finally getting justice. We interviewed Mr. Kwan on camera. Leo agreed to tell his story. Even a few of Mom's former friends spoke out, admitting they'd always suspected something was wrong but had been too afraid to say anything. The town that had once shunned me was now forced to reckon with the truth I'd exposed. It felt surreal, walking these streets I'd run from, now returning as the person who'd changed everything. One afternoon, we filmed at the old courthouse. A young girl, maybe 16, approached me nervously. Are you Avaren? Yes. Thank you, she said simply. My parents say you're a troublemaker, but you inspired me to apply to journalism school. I want to tell stories like you do. I hugged her, crying into her hair. This was why. This was the point. The documentary required us to film in my family's old house. The place where Mom had slapped me, where I'd packed that suitcase, where my childhood had ended in one violent afternoon. The bank had foreclosed by then. The house sat empty, waiting for auction. Helena had gotten permission to film inside. I stood in the kitchen where it had all started. Dust covered the counters. The clock still hung on the wall, stopped at some random time. The window where steam had fogged that terrible day was clean now, letting in harsh sunlight. It used to smell like cinnamon here, I told the camera, my voice barely steady. Mom baked every morning. The whole house smelled like bread and sugar and coffee. Now it just smells like regret. The crew was silent, giving me space to process. I touched the counter where my scholarship letter had landed. Where Mom's hand had landed on my face. I used to think this kitchen was the center of the world, I continued. Family dinners. Homework at the table. Birthday cakes cooling by the window. Now I see it for what it really was, a cage I had to escape. Helena asked gently, do you regret leaving? I thought about it carefully. No. I regret that leaving was the only option. But I don't regret choosing myself. One day during post-production, I found a letter in my mailbox. No return address. My mother's handwriting on the envelope. I almost threw it away without reading it. But curiosity won. The letter was short, handwritten on lined notebook paper. I lost everything trying to control you. The bakery. The house. My reputation. My family. You won. I hope it was worth it. No apology. No acceptance of responsibility. Just bitterness and blame dressed up as surrender. I sat on Brianna's couch, I'd finally moved into my own apartment, but habits die hard, and cried. Not from guilt. Not from regret. From release. For years, I'd carried the weight of Mom's expectations. Her disappointment. Her anger. The constant message that I was never enough, that my dreams were selfish, that family meant sacrificing yourself completely. This letter was her finally letting go. Not in the way I'd hoped, with understanding or growth, but letting go nonetheless. I whispered to the empty room, to the ghost of the mother I'd wished for but never had, it was worth it. Every single moment was worth it. Then I filed the letter away in my documentation box, one more piece of evidence in the story of how I'd become myself. The documentary premiered 6 months later at a small film festival in New York. I sat in the front row, surrounded by the journalists and survivors who'd become my new family. Helena sat beside me, squeezing my hand as the lights dimmed. My face appeared on the screen, not the scared girl who'd left home, but the woman I'd become. Confident. Clear-eyed. Unafraid. "My name is Ava Wren," my voice said from the speakers, "and my mother taught me that silence protects no one." The audience was completely still. For 90 minutes, they watched the story unfold, the corruption, the investigation, the family fracture, the cost of truth-telling. When the credits rolled, there was a moment of absolute silence. Then the theater erupted in applause. People stood. Strangers were crying. Helena hugged me. "You did it. You really did it." Reporters swarmed me afterward with questions. Major news networks wanted interviews. The documentary was already getting Oscar buzz. My phone exploded with messages, job offers, speaking requests, congratulations from journalists I'd admired for years. But only one notification mattered. One voicemail from a number I knew by heart, even though it had been silent for over a year. I didn't listen to it right away. I wasn't ready. Not yet. I waited until I was alone in my apartment, my own place now, with a real bed and a desk and walls I'd painted myself. Then I pressed play on Mom's voicemail. Her voice was small, broken, almost unrecognizable. "I'm proud of you." That was it. 3 words, then silence. She'd hung up without saying anything else. No apology. No explanation. Just those 3 words I'd been waiting my entire life to hear. I played it again. And again. And again. Each time, I noticed something different. The way her voice cracked on proud. The long pause before she spoke. The sound of her breath, shaky and uncertain. She was watching the documentary somewhere. Maybe alone. Maybe with Dad. Maybe with Leo, if he was still speaking to her. She was watching her own life exposed on screen, her choices, her failures, her daughter's triumph. And somewhere in that painful confrontation with truth, she'd found 3 words worth saying. I sat on my couch, holding my phone, crying. Not from joy, exactly. Not from forgiveness. From something more complicated, recognition, maybe. Acknowledgement. The smallest possible bridge across an impossible distance. I didn't call her back. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But I saved the voicemail, preserved those 3 words like the precious, painful gift they were. Weeks passed. The documentary went from festival darling to cultural phenomenon. It aired on a major streaming platform and became one of their most watched documentaries of the year. My social media following exploded. Job offers poured in from major news organizations. I accepted a position at a prestigious investigative journalism outlet, the kind of job I'd dreamed about but never thought I'd actually get. Real salary. Benefits. An expense account. Everything I'd left home to find. Leo visited me in the city to celebrate. He'd transferred to a university closer to me, finally escaping our hometown for good. We got dinner at a nice restaurant, the kind where Mom would have insisted we were wasting money. Have you talked to her? Leo asked carefully. I shook my head. I saw her missed call after the premiere. She left a voicemail. What did it say? That she's proud of me. Leo's eyes widened. Seriously? 3 words. That's all. But yeah. He was quiet for a moment. She checked into rehab. Did you know that? For alcohol. Dad finally convinced her she needed help. My stomach twisted. When? 2 months ago. She's been sober for 8 weeks. She's different. Quieter. She asks about you sometimes. I didn't know what to do with that information. Part of me wanted to reach out, to see if rehab had changed her, if we could rebuild something from the wreckage. But the other part remembered too much, the slap, the threats, the years of being told I wasn't enough. Is she trying? I asked. Yeah, Leo said. I think she really is. 6 months later, I drove home. Not to the old house, that had been sold at auction to a young family who knew nothing of its history. But to Leo's new apartment near his university, where he'd invited both Mom and me for dinner. You don't have to come, he'd said. But I think maybe it's time. The drive took 4 hours. I'd prepared 1,000 speeches in my head, things I wanted to say, boundaries I needed to set, questions I deserved answered. But when I walked into Leo's apartment and saw Mom sitting on his couch, all my prepared words disappeared. She looked older. Smaller. Her hair had more gray. She wore simple clothes, jeans and a sweater, nothing fancy. When she saw me, she stood up slowly. Ava. Mom. We stood there for a long moment, the distance between us both infinite and crossable. Then she spoke, her voice steady but soft. I'm sorry I made you choose. I took a breath. You didn't make me choose, Mom. You just didn't believe I'd actually make it. Something flickered across her face, recognition, maybe. Understanding. I know. I've been working on that. In therapy. Understanding why I tried so hard to control you. Why your success felt like my failure. Leo brought out dinner, simple pasta, nothing fancy. We sat at his small table, the 3 of us, and ate in careful silence punctuated by small talk. Leo carried most of the conversation, bravely filling the awkward gaps. As I was leaving, Mom touched my arm. Can I see you again? Sometime? I thought about the girl I'd been, desperate for her approval, willing to sacrifice everything for her love. Then I thought about the woman I'd become, successful, independent, strong. Maybe, I said. We'll see. It wasn't forgiveness. It wasn't reconciliation. But it was possibility, and for now, that was enough. I drove back to the city as the sun rose, my voice recorder on, capturing my thoughts for a new story I was already writing in my head. Sometimes the sweetest revenge isn't revenge at all, I said to the empty car, to the recording, to myself. It's peace. It's building a life so full and so true that the people who tried to diminish you become footnotes in your own story. It's choosing yourself over and over again until choosing yourself becomes as natural as breathing. I smiled as the city skyline appeared on the horizon, home now, really home. My name is Ava Wren, I said to the recording, to the world, to the future. And this is my story.